Bob Deuell. Make this easy. I have the clock. I don't need help. I know you're going to say, hey, time. We're going to go 12 to 15 minutes if they need it.
Is that what we... Is that good?
Yeah. Well, good to see all of you. This is a great crowd for a cold Saturday morning, and appreciate all of you being here. What they're saying, turn it up? Thank you. Is that better? Okay. I usually have my wife look over my speeches and take out all the stuff that's not important. So in conclusion, anyway, it's great to see you. I started this journey over 10 years ago, and I've been very blessed and honored to have your support to serve in the state senate. I think most of you know my background. I'm a family physician. I served on the school board in Greenville, the MHMR board. I'm a Rotarian. So I was in the public health service. I have a great background of things that lends itself to state government. And there were tough issues to face. Education and health are 75% of our budget. And I tell people, you know, those of you who know my background, I was a musician for 10 years, and that was tough. And then I went to medical school, residency. I've run for office, but the first 6 months in 2011 were the 6 toughest months of my life in terms of time and emotion and making tough decisions. I have a lot of what people call heavy-duty committees. I've been on Finance Committee since 2005, and Health and Human Services Committee, Vice Chair, State Affairs Vice Chair, Natural Resources, which is very important to this area, and also Chair of Nominations. There's a lot of criticism of the state. Governor Perry running for president. Texas got beat up. We got beat up a lot when George Bush was president, but I thought maybe to put some things in perspective about our state. We're the 45th lowest tax state in the nation, and when you count the big states, California, Florida, Pennsylvania, New York, we're low tax. Our per capita spending, it ranges in various areas 45th to 50th. You can't go lower than 50. I guess unless President Gingrich gets us to the moon and that becomes the 51st state, that we can't go lower than 50. I think we've been a good steward of your dollars. We've tried to provide essential services. We have money in the bank. We have a rainy day fund of $6.5 billion. It'll probably be about $9 billion when the session starts. We had it going into the session. We saved it in the 09 session, and we spent some of it in this last session. Quite frankly, I would have spent a little more of it to avoid laying off some teachers in some districts, but nonetheless, we have money in the bank. Our pension funds are intact. Teacher retirement system, the employee retirement system. It's real money, not like Social Security. We have $110 billion plus in teacher retirement system that if we wanted to stack it in the Capitol Monday, it's real money. We're about 26 years actuarially sound. That's good. Employee retirement system, the same thing. So all of those things have added up. We're in pretty good shape. We're not perfect. A lot of things that I'm not happy with. We've got to address some issues. I'm going to talk about them. We went into the session with about $27 billion shortfall. Our previous budget was $188 billion. We brought it down to $173 billion. That doesn't usually happen. We actually lowered our budget in '03. We've done it twice. We lived within our means. The comptroller tells us how much we have to spend. Some of the criticism you'll hear, and from conservatives, is they disagreed how we did that. That's what some of the scorecards are about. There's different ways. We did some accounting maneuvers, delayed payments. We did that in '03. It worked out. Medicaid, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we did some Medicaid reform. We underfunded it to avoid raising taxes because we have some flexibility with Medicaid. And the cushion, again, is the rainy day fund. But we instigated some reforms, hopefully to keep that down. Medicaid is 25% of our state budget, and that's a lot. But a lot of states, it's in the 30s. And one of the things I've done as a physician is work very closely with Health and Human Services to implement programs that save us money. One of the things that I did, I found out that 11% of Medicaid patients have insurance, but private insurance, but they don't use it. Well, we passed a bill, it was my bill, to mine the data from those insurance companies and have them pay us because people are insured. It's brought in over $100 million. Not a big amount in the course of a $173 billion budget, but certainly helps. We balanced the budget, no tax increases. We did photo voter ID. So far that's holding up in court. We did a sonogram bill for women seeking an abortion. I wrote the medical part of that to make it in line with informed consent. It's being held up in the courts so far. We put more money in border security. We defunded Planned Parenthood. One of the things that I've done is we were putting money into family planning alone, and for the same amount of money you can provide comprehensive care to women. So when we cut family planning, what you didn't hear so much is that there's other money going into areas to provide comprehensive care, total care, not just family planning, to women, which will save us money in the long run. We call it comprehensive women's care, and it's worked very well. But it was a conservative session. Right to life, we keep protecting that with the sonogram bill. Second Amendment issues, a bill that I did in several sessions ago was that if you have a concealed handgun license, that data is not public information like it used to be. We've done tort reform. We've addressed immigration as best we can without as much help as we need from the federal government. We have stopped gambling from coming to the state. We've made insurance reforms. All of those, I think we protected your personal property with eminent domain protection. We still have some more work to do there. I passed the noodling bill. I want you all to know that. You can now, it's legal to noodle in Texas. We were losing tourism to Oklahoma with that. I got quoted in Time magazine, not that I wanted to be, but I told them, we actually, it's a funny story, we have a local and uncontested calendar, and bills that automatically pass that aren't controversial, and Senator Jackson, my ex-friend, pulled it off, so I would have to defend it on the floor. So I just pointed out to him that I don't personally noodle, but I would defend to the death his right to do so. But we have some fun with that. But actually people wanted that, and Senator Nichols from Deep East Texas said he didn't think most people in his district knew it was illegal. But if you want to jump in a river and swim with the water moccasins and everything else to catch a catfish, you can do it now. And we've done bills to protect children. A lot of criticism about Medicaid. Should we do it? Should we not? Some people think we ought to pull out. And I would just point out that 2/3 of that are blind, aged, and disabled and nursing home patients, the greatest generation. Health and Human Services is 1/3 of our state budget, but that's restaurant inspections, it's adult and child protective services, it's our state hospitals, what we call now state supported living centers, are formerly called state schools. So it's a lot more than Medicaid, but 2/3 of that is, and women and children are a part of it. When I was delivering babies in Greenville, a lot of women would come in labor without prenatal care. That cost us a lot more in the long run, so the state started providing prenatal care back then. And I try to be smart with things. Mental health funding, you know, if you don't treat those folks, they end up in jail. They end up in jail, the jails get crowded, and criminals end up getting out on the street. You know, you have to be smart and deal with reality. Do I wish that young women didn't have babies before they were ready to have them? Yeah, sure. But the reality is they do. And I think we need that. And that's really the focus of my service in the Senate, is to be realistic, to use some common sense, to be pragmatic. Unfortunately, that gets criticism sometimes because you kind of go against the grain of what people think you ought to do. I get criticized that someone said, you know, I wanted to let minor children have birth control without their parents' consent. Not exactly true. It's just for 16 and 17-year-old girls that have already had babies, already making decisions about their baby. The data shows that if those women have another baby, they don't have a chance of getting out of that rut. We always talk about breaking the cycle, and when we start doing things to break the cycle, some people criticize that. And but I'll keep doing that. You know, I'm endorsed by the Right to Life people, the NRA, TSRA, the firefighters, Texas Association of Business, law enforcement, farmers, educators, Texas for Lawsuit Reform, physicians, medical groups. The Equity Center for Schools gave me the Champion of Children Award. I've been trying to deal with the inequity of school finance. There's lots of lawsuits right now. One lawsuit's about whether we're actually adequately funding schools. The other lawsuit is that it's not equal. And I had to buck heads with the chairman of education, a friend, to try to get things a little more equal. We got a bill in place to start doing that, and to be fair to wealthy districts like we live in here, but also the poor school districts like Bowles Home, which is just right down the road, the poor school district. Getting 80,000 new kids a year in Texas public schools. We can educate them, or we can build prisons. We can build schools, we can hire teachers, we can build prisons and hire prison guards. A lot of them aren't prepared. Their parents either don't know how to be good parents, or they don't care. And I, for one, just can't condemn those people, those kids, to a lifetime of poverty. Try to break the cycle. So you're going to hear a lot of things. I'm not conservative enough. I'm not liberal. You see those groups there? They think I'm doing a pretty good job, and I think most of you have thought I'm doing a pretty good job. So I look to the future. We need to fund our water plan. We need to fund transportation in a better way. I'll tell you up front, before my opponent does, I think we ought to raise the gas tax. We're bonded for roads this last session. We need to pay for the roads. We're getting more roads. We have to maintain them. I think the gas tax, it's fair. It gets you on what you drive, how much you drive. It gets people from out of state. The reason that the county of Rockwall and the city of Rockwall had to do those big bonds is because the state wasn't doing its job about funding roads. And we need to look, the reason we're a good business state, low unemployment, we have good infrastructure. Well, if we don't start doing something now, we're not going to have that. When Ralph Hall was a senator in the 60s, and they went through that big drought in the 50s, they started funding water projects. Wasn't particularly popular. But we're not doing that now, and if we don't have water, we're not going to bring jobs to the state. You're not going to have the water you want just for your personal use. And that's going to require some tough decisions. I'm not a puppet. I don't look at how any group wants me to vote. That's why I don't do well on the scorecards, because I look to the people in this district. I vote this district. You know, you can get high grades on scorecards and you can represent your district. You can't do both. I'm not afraid to confront even Republican groups when I think they're wrong. I'm not a yes man. I think for myself. And been married to the same woman for 42 years. Lived in Texas most of my life. Lived in this area most of my life. paid my taxes, and I'm thinking about children and grandchildren, your grandchildren, what's good for the future of this state. So I hope that you'll join me in presenting a positive image for the Republican Party, a Republican Party that uses common sense, is pragmatic, uses conservative principles to solve ideas, and not put a face on our party that's angry, a demagogue. We don't need that in public service. We need people that put a good face out for our party and for our state. And I've done that. It means a lot to me that you're here. I appreciate your support in the past, and I hope I get it in the future. And thank you very much.
Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advanced beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. Thank you.